Most Toyota owners are making a mistake every single morning. They don't know they're making it. Their dealer has never mentioned it. It's not in the owner's manual. And it is quietly costing them an engine rebuild worth anywhere between $4,000 and $8,000. I drove my Toyota to 400,000 miles without a single major engine repair. Not because I have a special car, not because I use expensive oil, because 18 years ago, a Japanese mechanic showed me one habit. One thing he said Japanese drivers do automatically that most Western drivers never do. Today I'm going to show you exactly what that is. And if you own any Toyota, any year, any model, pay close attention to the next 60 seconds. Let me start with what's actually happening inside your engine every cold morning. When your engine has been sitting overnight, all the oil drains down to the bottom of the engine. The upper components, the camshaft, the valve train, the top of your cylinders, they're sitting there dry. The moment you turn the key, your oil pump starts pushing that oil back up. But it doesn't get there instantly. It takes 30 to 60 seconds for full oil pressure to reach every critical component at the top of your engine. During those 30 to 60 seconds, metal is running against metal with almost no lubrication. Engineers call this the cold start wear window. And according to research from the American Society of Lubrication Engineers, 75% of all engine wear happens during this exact window. Not on the highway, not during hard acceleration. One in the first 60 seconds of every cold start. Now multiply that by 260 mornings a year. Over 10 years, that's 2,600 cold starts. Each one grinding your engine a little harder than it needs to be ground. That's why some Toyotas need a $6,000 engine rebuild at 150,000 miles, and others are still running strong at 400,000. But here's where it gets really interesting. Japanese taxi drivers figured this out decades ago. Not from a manual, not from a dealer, from experience. Tokyo taxis regularly cross 500,000 miles on their original engines, the same Toyota engines that American and British drivers are replacing at 150,000. I spoke to a retired Toyota factory technician, a man who spent 22 years building these engines in Japan. He told me something I've never forgotten. He said the engines Toyota builds are designed to last 1 million kilometers, around 620,000 miles. But the way most Western drivers treat their cars in the first minute of every morning, they're lucky to get a third of that, 1 minute. That's what separates these two outcomes. The habit those taxi drivers follow is called warm idle. And it is so simple that when I first heard it, I genuinely thought I was missing something. I wasn't. Here's exactly what you do. You start your engine. You do not touch the accelerator. You do not switch on the air conditioning. You do not put the car in reverse. You simply wait. Watch your RPM gauge. On a cold start, your Toyota will idle between 1,200 and 1,500 RPM. That's your engine running slightly faster to warm itself up. You wait, without touching anything, until that RPM needle drops down to 700 or below. On a cold winter morning, that takes about 60 to 90 seconds. On a warm summer day, sometimes as little as 30 seconds. Once the RPM drops, that tells you oil pressure has fully stabilized. Your engine is properly lubricated. Now you turn on your AC. Now you put it in gear. And for the first mile, you drive gently. No hard acceleration, no sudden stops. That's the entire habit, 60 to 90 seconds of doing nothing. Your dealership will never tell you this. A, because there's nothing to sell you. No product, no service, no upsell, just patience. And I've calculated what this patience has saved me personally. Based on the average cost of a Toyota engine rebuild in the US, $5,500, and the fact that my engine is still original at 400,000 miles, this habit has saved me at least $5,500 in hard repairs, probably more. But that's nothing compared to what I'm about to show you next, because the warm idle habit covers your morning cold start. But there's a second part of this equation that almost nobody talks about. Your engine faces a similar stress moment at the end of every drive. Not as severe as the cold start, but significant enough that Japanese mechanics specifically address it. When you've been driving for 20 minutes or more, your engine components, your turbo if you have one, your exhaust manifold, your upper engine, are all running at high temperature. When you shut the engine off instantly, oil circulation stops immediately. Those hot components start cooling down rapidly with no oil flow to manage the process. In turbocharged Toyotas, the RAV4, the Camry Hybrid, any turbocharged model, this is especially damaging. Turbo bearings can hit 250 degrees Fahrenheit under load. Shut the engine off immediately and that heat soaks into the bearing with no cooling oil. Mechanics call it heat soak, and it destroys turbo bearings prematurely. A turbo replacement on a Toyota runs $1,500 to $2,800 depending on the model. The Japanese solution is just as simple as the warm idle. After any drive of 20 minutes or more, park your car. Then let it idle for 60 seconds before switching off. That's it. 60 seconds. Your oil pump keeps circulating. Your hot components cool gradually with lubrication flowing. Your turbo bearings survive the heat. 2 habits. 60 seconds each. One at the start of your drive, one at the end. Total cost. Nothing. Total time per day. Roughly 2 minutes. Now let me put some real numbers on what this means for your car's value. A Toyota with 200,000 miles that runs rough and burns oil. Trade-in value around $3,000 to $5,000. A Toyota with 200,000 miles that runs clean, starts perfectly, shows no oil consumption. Trade-in value between $8,000 and $12,000. Same mileage, same model. Potentially $7,000 difference. Because of how the engine was treated during those first and last 60 seconds of every single drive. And here's the number that should matter most to you. The average American spends $792 per year on car maintenance, according to AAA. British drivers spend slightly more. A significant portion of that, especially after 100,000 miles, is directly tied to accelerated engine wear from cold start damage. And we'll follow these 2 habits consistently and you can realistically cut your annual maintenance cost by 30 to 40%. That's $250 to $350 back in your pocket every year. Every year, for the entire life of your car. I want to leave you with one more thing before the recap. I showed this to 3 people in my neighborhood last year, all Toyota owners, all skeptical, all thought 60 seconds of idling was a waste of time. One of them called me 4 months later. He said he'd been tracking his oil consumption. Before the habit, he was adding nearly a quart of oil between changes. After 4 months of consistent warm idle and cool down idle, his consumption dropped by more than half. Same car, same oil, same driving routes. His mechanic had quoted him $1,200 to investigate the oil consumption issue. He never needed that appointment. Quick recap of everything we covered today. 1. 75% of engine wear happens in the first 60 seconds of every cold start. This is not opinion. This is engineering data. Step 2. The warm idle habit means waiting for your RPM to drop below 700 before driving. It takes 60 to 90 seconds on a cold morning. 3. The cool down idle means letting your engine run for 60 seconds after any drive of 20 minutes or more before switching off. 4. Together, these 2 habits can save you $250 to $350 a year in maintenance costs and add tens of thousands of miles to your engine life. 5. Your dealer will never tell you either of these things. There's nothing in it for them. One question for the comments. How many miles are on your Toyota right now? Drop your mileage below. I read every single one. If this saved you money, subscribe. I post tips like this every week. Things your dealership knows but will never tell you.